everybody. I am back with day number 4 in my December daily. This day we went to our annual party where we volunteer at. Me and my daughter volunteer at a local wildlife center, and we always have a gift exchange and a potluck at the event. And this time, the gifts that everyone brought were like amazing. Normally, there's like a lot of white elephant type of gifts, so it's things that you don't necessarily want. It's just kind of junky stuff. But this year, everybody went all out with the gifts. I mean, for the most part, there was like nothing I didn't want to get. So it was super fun because then you don't feel like you're getting like, not something you want to use, and then you just feel like it just sits somewhere or you donate it. Just seems kind of wasteful. So this was really fun because we had a lot of things, like I said, that we would like. Even if we got stolen from getting something else, we would have been happy with anything we got. So I ended up getting this handmade crocheted scarf, which is a possum, which is amazing. It is absolutely amazing. It is a long scarf. It is so freaking cute. I was so excited. I can't even tell you. So I have this, and that's what I got. I thought for sure someone was going to steal it. There was no way I was going to keep it, and I did not get stolen from. I was so happy. And then my daughter got this squishy raccoon. I think she actually stole it from someone. She saw someone else get it, and she was super excited. Yes, she's 17, but yes, she still loves squishies. So she got, or not squishies, but stuffies, I guess. But this is a squishy stuffy. And she got this and decided to steal it from somebody. And she was very, very happy. So what I'm doing right now is I'm just kind of laying everything out. I decided to mat the photo of the scarf on some pink paper. I just felt like it needed something. It was a little too plain up there on the top left. And then I grabbed the Celebrate title, which I thought would be good since it's a little party. And then I have many or very merry vibes, which is the little half circle down at the bottom. Now I just punched a hole out of my tag like I've been doing all the days, put an eyelet in, and then I am going to thread some really kind of hot pink thread through it. I thought the hot pink would look nice. Kind of went with the pinks in the layout here and on the left-hand side. And then I also have that little bow in the top left corner of the possum picture. For the photos at the bottom, I actually just cut them out so they look kind of like Polaroids, like those old-fashioned Polaroids. And I just like how that looked. It has a nice little layering effect and just kind of gives that retro vibe. And here's that pink ribbon that I was telling you about. I'm just going to like glue the tail of the ribbon behind it so it looks kind of clean and smooth. And then later on, you'll see that I'm going to end up kind of flipping the top part of the ribbon over and just gluing that down so it looks kind of like a loop because I didn't want to go on the back side of the page. And you'll see that kind of much later on. I think actually when I start working on the back page. Because of the party, we did have more photos than I have been having, so I am going to go and do a 2-page spread. So this is the first spread, and then I'm going to flip the page over and do the one more picture that I have on the back side. So this is kind of like a 2-pager for this video. And I had a little scrap piece of that ribbon left, and I thought, oh, it looked really kind of cute as a loopy thing on the photo at the bottom. So I'm just going to glue that in using my Beacon 3-in-1, and it's an acetone kind of glue. And I'm going to glue that in. Just thought it would bring that pink from the top right to the bottom left, and I thought that was perfect. Just rubbing off some of that glue that kind of gooped on the one side of the page. And then I'm going to start gluing down these other pieces. I'll attach the one photo to the other photo so they don't move, and then I will glue down that little half circle with the flower die cut, or I mean, I did a fussy cut, but it's basically a die cut. You can put them on your Cricut and cut them. They are digital from the Tracy Reed Christmas collection for 2025. I don't remember the name of it, but if you're interested, you can go over to her website and you can download the kit. It is very reasonably priced. I believe I got it on a Black Friday deal, so it was a bit cheaper when I purchased it, but it is super cute. It has lots of stuff in it. I highly recommend checking her website out. Now I'm just going to glue down that little flower. I'm also using some of my art glitter glue, which I absolutely love because it's got that really fine point, and it is great for these little types of like die cuts and things. I pulled this Good Times strip off of the sticker sheet that is the Doodlebug sticker sheet. I like the color and I thought it was good for the party. And I'm just going to glue that down there on the bottom of that picture of me and my daughter. And then I'm going to look and see if there's anything else I want to pull off the sticker sheet. And I am going to pull off that green star in the top right. I want to put that with the little ribbon tab on the photo of my daughter. just to bring some green down to the bottom. I didn't have any green, but there was some in that Celebrate, and I thought that looked kind of nice having that brought down. Now I'm going to start gluing everything on the top portion. The little ribbon, I will glue down the possum photo and the Celebrate using my Scotch 3M tape runner there. Gluing down all my photos. I didn't have you watch me using the tape runner everywhere, but I did put tape runner on everything and glued everything down. Now I have this Bo Bunny sheet. It's super, super old. I don't even know how long I've had it. I'm trying to look to see. Oh, I can't tell. I was going to see if I could tell when it was like made, but I can't see that. So I just did the initials of the place that we volunteer at, and I thought I was going to put them right below the Celebrate, but they kind of were blending in too much. I decided to pull one of the labels from the Tracy Reed kit, and I am adding my letter stickers to that. And I just thought it kind of anchored it a bit more and just made it show up a bit more because with that white background, the snowflake pattern is pretty busy, so I thought it needed to be a bit more separated from that snowflake paper. So just finagling with them. And then I want to tuck that under the Celebrate. And since I glued that down, I am going to have to peel it up a bit. And then I'm going to tuck it up underneath the Celebrate, and then it's going to stay right there. And I like that better. I didn't want it to be covering it, and I didn't want it to be independent. I kind of wanted them both to be on top of each other, or the Celebrate to be on top of the label. And I think that marries together pretty well. So I'm not just fussing with it to try to get it to sit where I want it to. And then I think the last thing I'll do is, yeah, I'm going to glue on that tag, just using some of the white glue. You do not need very much of that glue, actually, which is kind of nice too. So it takes a while to use up the bottle. Gluing the little bow there down. I noticed here that the part of the bow was getting over to the edge, but I ended up just folding it over a little bit because there's no way the bow was going to come up, and it's going to be fine. It's only just like the very, very edge, so it's no big deal. So now I'm just gluing some more down on that star so that part stays down. And then I'm going to flip over to the back side. So here's where I'm going to mess with that loopy on the tag, and I'll just loop it over, glue it down on the other side, and you'll see that here in a second. Just using my 3-in-1 glue again. It doesn't seep through very badly if you only put a dab, and you really only need a dab. And it dries relatively quickly. It does give you some time to play with it, but it dries relatively quickly and sticks pretty nicely. So then I'll work on this back side, and for this back side, I am putting a picture of my daughter wearing the possum scarf. I thought, and she thought that she looked like a babushka, so with the scarf around her head. So we ended up, we just thought that was funny. So we got a picture of that, and I'm just gonna do some layering. I had that paper with the trees on it from an old kit. I can't remember the line that it came from. But then my daughter also saved this bag from Hollister for me, and she thought it would be good for me to use in my journaling, which I thought was really, really nice of her. She saved it just so I could use it. So I'm going to be cutting a piece of it out, just kind of ripping around the edges and using that as a mat. And I really like the red of the bag, and I thought that would look nice on the background. So you'll see here that I'll rip the front of it off, pull that handle off, and then just kind of rip a square-ish shape out of it. And I know you're not going to see this backside, but I do try to pull most of this paper off. I know I don't have to be this careful, but I'm really trying to make sure I don't bulk up the album any more than it needs to be. So removing some of this so I can make sure that when I do use it, it doesn't add any more bulk that doesn't have to be there. And I actually don't even know if I get that in the part that I ripped out, but still, just wanting to make sure that I didn't add any more bulk. So just tearing this, I kind of wanted to, in this particular instance, to see the background, which is brown. Normally I tear away from myself so that you don't see the like core of the paper, but for this one, I kind of just wanted to be able to see that. So I want to kind of almost like if you were inking it or giving it a border, I wanted to see that so it kind of showed up a bit more. So I'll play with this quite a bit, trying to make sure it's the right size. I'll just keep pulling little bits off here and there, just making sure I whittle it down, and I don't want to take too much off, so I just keep tearing until I get it the size I like. Trying to tear it so it's relatively straight-ish because I don't want it to be too jaggedy. And I think this is the perfect size. Just kind of playing with where I want everything positioned. And I will end up putting the photo on the left and then the tag on the right. I like how that looks a bit better from a weighted perspective. Other than that, no good reason. I just think this looks like a bit better. And I like the fact that I was covering, I think, the back of a chair in the photo up with the tag, and I didn't want to cover up the gift bag that's on the left-hand side of the photo. Not that it really mattered too much, but I thought that was more appropriate for the layout than the back of the chair. So I think this worked out well. There is that punch sheet that I think I was telling you about of the last video that I got at a crop on the free table, and it was perfect. So I've been using these quite a bit. I'm going to use this journaling spot, although I'm not going to use it as a journaling spot. I just wanted something to layer onto this cluster. And I like the colors, they went well, but I wanted to tuck this in, and I do like once I tuck it in much better. And then I'm also going to be looking to see if there's anything else I want on that sheet, but I think I'm going to stick with a flower possibly. Not quite sure. So you'll see me kind of going through some things, trying to figure out what I want to use. Ultimately, I do like that a flower up there on the top left, so I'm going to stick with that. And then I wanted some more layering on the left, and I wanted to bring that blue color over to the left, so I'm going to take this tab and just tuck it there on the left-hand side. And I walked away for a little bit because I was like feeling it, but not feeling it. And it's one of those things sometimes if you walk away and then come back, you kind of have a new perspective. And I did really like how this was looking, so I ended up sticking with this layout. I will punch a hole here. And then this time I do not use an eyelet. This was actually a little bit bigger of a hole. I'm using a different punch. And I'm just going to string some ribbon through it. But first I'm going to start gluing all these pieces down because they keep moving around and it's kind of annoying and I don't want them to be moving around and getting out of place. I want to make sure they kind of stay where I've put them. So right now I'm just kind of gluing, tacking everything down so it remains stationary. Then I didn't want to use all of the paper that had the trees on it, so I'm going to trim out a corner of it so I can use a little scrap someplace else at some point. I really didn't need to do this, but I felt like, well, if I can and I can use that scrap, maybe I'll use it sometime. It's a really cute piece of paper. And they have some gold on the trees. You can't really see it in the video, but there is like this gold leafing or what is it, foiling on the trees. And I thought that was pretty. So I'm like, I want to keep that. I don't want to throw that piece away or cover it up by all this layering. So then I'm going to make sure everything is sticking pretty well, and then I'm going to stick all of this to the red paper bag. Very good idea, keeping your holiday bags or even your non-holiday bags to use in your junk journaling. They make great background pages, make great accents, and then you're not, instead of putting them in the landfill, you're actually using them in your stuff so they get a new life, and that's always a nice thing. So now everything is stuck down, and then I'm going to put some glue on the back of this whole cluster and stick that down to the page. First, I am going to add that ribbon because it's going to be a little bit easier to do that before I stick the whole thing down. And I'm just using this green Stampin' Up! Ribbon, and I'll tie that through. And I like how the green is coming across from the green in the leaves of the flower. So I'll just kind of wiggle that until I kind of get it to lay like I want it to. It takes a minute, and I'm trying to be real careful. That's why I'm wiggling it, because I don't want to pull it too hard because it is paper, and I don't want to rip the top of the tag. So I like how that is. Glue that down now so it doesn't come off. Another good use for that art glitter glue at the tip is you can get into those tight spaces pretty easily. So I'm going to glue that down. And then once I glue this down, I am going to work on the bottom left, I think, of the page next. And I want to add a label there, kind of like I did on that YouTube recap page. I wanted to pull something down to the bottom just to balance it out better, because right now it's looking a little bit heavy in the top, and I didn't want that whole bottom to just be plain like that. So after I used this all wrapped up, because I thought that was a cute phrase since she's all wrapped up in the scarf, I believe I start working on that cluster. Oh no, I'm going to use this Let It Snow first because she's wrapped in a scarf, so now it can snow because she has a scarf on. Don't be afraid to trim your stickers up if they're not fitting. So on this one, I'm not really taking any of the like important parts of the sticker up or off, but I am going to trim it up so it fits in the label. I didn't want any of the overhangs. That label has kind of an oval white center in it, and I didn't want the square or rectangle shape strip to go over that kind of ovally shape. So I am just going to trim it out so it fits perfectly in. It was like meant to be, and I'll glue that down. And I'm looking through this sticker sheet to see if there's anything else I want to add from the sticker sheet on here. And I was thinking about, oh, this is where I'm trying to decide what I'm going to put in that bottom left. So I was thinking about one of these labels, but I don't know, they just didn't seem to fit very well. I wanted something a bit more substantial. So I don't end up pulling that off now, but I do remember that they had these numbers in here, and because the number 4 is on the other side, I felt like, well, I might as well use the number 4 here. It is very hard to read. You can barely see that it has a 4 because it's in black and it has a dark green sticker, but it's okay. I wanted to use it up and it worked. And then I am going to pull a piece of like kind of greenery. I felt like I needed some of that dark green now that I put that number 4 down in the top left with the floral die cut piece. And so I'm going to pull this one right here. I do not necessarily want to see the red flower, so I'm just going to kind of tuck that in, and I'm going to mess with it a bit. It's a bit hard for me to get it in, but finally I get it tucked in the way I like it, and just adds that darker green color there and brings it across the page. I felt like it just needed something now that I added that number 4. All right, so now I think maybe I'm going to start doing the bottom left. Yes, I am going to pull this white label off of the punch out. Use that. I'm going to pull over my little circle die cuts and I'm going to try to layer them on the tag. I wanted something on the top left and then the bottom right. And I'm going to first use this jolly, but I don't like how the bottom of the J and the Y are getting covered. So I decided to pull something that doesn't have any words on it because I already have a lot of words in the top and they're just like a pattern. And then I add this little pink flower. And a little bit later on in the photos, I believe it is, you will see the journaling. I think I have. Yes, I do have. In the pictures, the journaling will be on this tag. So you kind of see how I ended up doing that. But I also ended up adding journaling to a separate tag. I didn't really leave enough room on these 2 pages to put all the journaling that I decided to type up. So in a little bit, you're going to see me decorating a tag and see the rest of the journaling. It doesn't necessarily have a home yet, but when I work on this page on the right, I will end up trying to figure out how I can maybe like tuck it in a pocket and just make sure that that journaling's there. If it's not on the day, it's not a big deal. The most important thing is that I capture the journaling, and that's what I care about most. So that's what I'll end up doing. So you can see here, this is the end of the layout with no journaling on it. And like I said, the photos will be later. So this is the journaling I put on the tag. All I did was put the rest of that doily that I had trimmed out from the day 3, I think it was, and I put it on there and then added my little word strips. And then I decided to pull washi out of my stash. I combined some of my typical Christmas washi with some that were just like kind of wintry or different color washi that matched the colors of this album, using my scissors because the things were rolling all over the table. And I'm like, oh, this is perfect. I can just hold them on the scissors and then they won't be rolling all over the place. I will end up putting glue all over this tag. This is kind of where I figured out that the Pritt stick, once you put a bunch of glue everywhere, it doesn't necessarily stay wet very long and you really have to reapply. So if you are using a Pritt stick, either you need to put it pretty glopped on, or I would do small sections at a time. And that's what I ultimately ended up doing. So once I started gluing the strips down, I noticed that the Pritt stick dried up, and I'll just add glue underneath each strip as I'm kind of going, just a little bit, enough to just kind of keep it on better. And I do spare you watching me put strips after strip on this tag. So I will put a few on and then I will fast forward to the end where the tag is all covered with the strips. So you don't have to watch me just tape strip after strip. So there you go. That's what it looks like after I have put all the strips on. And then I'm going to use this kind of squeegee scraper thing just to make sure it's really stuck down. Again, washi is not the most reliable tape, and I want to make sure it really, really sticks down. So I use that scraper plus the glue stick to make sure it's stuck down. Trim off all the excess tape here. And then this is relatively done. The last thing that I end up doing on the tag is I do add a topper to it. I cannot leave my tags blank. They look naked. So I will pull, oh no, I forgot. I do this little journaling card first, which not a journaling card, but like this little picture card that's kind of retro 50s looking, which is my favorite era. I can't remember if I said that in this video or the previous video, but I love like kitschy vintage 50s, 60s types of stuff. And I thought the Santa was super cute and the colors went really well. And I just didn't want to have the plain washi tape. So I do add this, but I also wanted to see some of the washi a bit more. So I'm trimming off some of this excess border. I want to keep some of it, but I thought trimming it down, I could see a little bit more of the washi. So I'll glue that down and then I'm going to put the bow at the top. And the material that I use for the bow is actually some very, 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 very old pillowcase material. It was actually a pillowcase from my grandma's house. It was in her basement, I think. She always kept everything. She was kind of from, or she wasn't kind of, she was from the time, with the Depression. And her family kept everything. She never threw anything away. Basically, it had to be like falling apart before she threw it away. And she really didn't have much. Like, she didn't buy a lot of stuff. And so she had these pillowcases that she was using downstairs for rags and things like that. And they had the hand embroidery on them. I used the hand embroidery on a journal that I made that I posted on Etsy, but I had these strips of fabric and they're really, really thin and very fragile. So I was trying to be very careful with this. I do put this bow in and it took me forever. So I'm going to fast forward to the end when the bow is done because, again, you do not want me watching me finagle with this. But there it is. It's super cute. I love the little bow. It's just a little bit of an off-white color and I love the torn edges. It's just gives it extra texture to everything. So that is it for me. I hope you enjoyed this video. If you did, give me a thumbs up. If you haven't already, I'd love for you to be a subscriber. And if you have any questions or comments, leave those below. Here are the pictures, and I hope you have a wonderful day. Bye, everybody.